we will start this evening's meeting. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So we have one matter before us this evening. This is Plymouth Park, DFC, on application for special exemption and variance from Plymouth Township Zoning Ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 14, Section 1402A and 1408A. Special exception request is as follows: to allow an indoor sports training facility with an accessory retail use. Variance requested is as follows: to allow 116 parking spaces where a minimum of 351 spaces are required. Property is located at 105 Lee Drive in a limited industrial zoning district.
Good evening, Neil Stein representing the applicant. This is Chang Han. He is the principal of Max Power Sports. And any questions specifically dealing with operations, he can answer anything you might want to know. From a property standpoint, this is about 4¼ acres. The plan before you shows a roughly 70,000 square foot building with 116 parking spaces. From a zoning standpoint, based on the calculations that our engineer performed, we believe we are in compliance with impervious cover regulations and setback regulations. The purpose of the application is to seek permission to conduct an indoor youth sports training facility. Chang can describe that much better than I can, but essentially you're dealing with young people age 9 through high school senior who are interested in intensive instruction in volleyball, baseball, basketball, gymnastics, cheerleading, badminton.
Yes.
I think I hit all of it. Typically, these kids are dropped off by their parents, hours 4:30 to 10 daily. Chang has an affiliation with about 48 different sports coaches, many of whom have national and perhaps even international reputations. We're talking about people in the Olympics and so forth. So Chang has a very impressive reputation within that youth sports community. Currently he's in Upper Merion Township, occupying about 30,000 square feet, and he will tell you that he desperately needs more space, hence the possible relocation to this particular property. He can explain what's depicted on the floor plan better than I can, but you'll see different types of sports courts in the interior. Plus there's about 10,000 square feet that's devoted to offices, bathrooms. There's a small concession stand area and a small retail area, no locker rooms in the facility. The parking should be more than adequate, given that the parents don't typically stay unless they're coming from significantly out of town, and he does attract athletes from out of town, which is very interesting because you've got 2 hotels that can benefit from people who want to stay overnight during that process. So that's really the proposal. It fits well within the property. It fits well within the park itself. It doesn't generate a lot of traffic or noise or lights or anything of that nature. It's a very clean use from that particular standpoint, and it's good for the community because it is a place for kids to go and receive that intensive type of sports training that they may not be able to get elsewhere. Chang, do you want to describe the interior layout?
Yes. So we are proposing to have 8 courts that can either facilitate basketball or volleyball. That's all we're planning on having. On the right side, you can see where we have badminton courts, and we can also use badminton courts for pickleball, because it's very popular now. They're the same dimensions. Then on the left-hand side, we have a space dedicated for cheerleading and gymnastics. And then above that, where it says turf space, we have baseball going in there. So those are the main sports that we focus on and are going to expand into.
Anything else to present at this time?
I think at this time, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, Lonnie?
So you want to explain the significance of the parents don't stay, and how does that relate to it doesn't generate any traffic, or there's a low traffic generator? And if they come and stay, and then they leave once, but if they're coming and going, isn't that, does that mean like it's less parking if they don't stay?
Less parking demand.
needs?
Right.
So they're dropping off. That blows my mind because as someone who coached youth sports, parents, they just want to like hover over their kids and watch everything they do.
When they're in competition, but usually for practices, very few parents stay because it's time.
Is it practice or training?
Training.
Okay,
Training. Yep.
okay, maybe I can buy that. Maybe
Yeah.
they're working out or
Yep.
Okay, so all right. I guess the other question, the turf space, what is that? Is that like a baseball field or is it?
Oh no, it's indoor turf, so it's artificial.
Cages to hit baseballs in. And
Yeah. Mhm.
Pitching machines
Yes,
and that kind of stuff.
and batting cages. Yes. Mhm.
Okay, there's not any walls or fences that they're
No,
not
no.
simulating games inside.
No. It's just fielding, batting cages, and so on. The space isn't big enough to them, actually do any sort of playing. Currently, our baseball area is about 7,200 square feet,
Okay.
and the ceilings are only 20 feet there.
20 feet,
Yeah.
So, what do you do? Partition those off into like?
It's got its own space.
Yeah, no. I mean, once in the turf space area, is it partitioned off for like pitchers to throw?
Yes.
Hitters to hit.
Yes.
Fielders to field.
Yes.
And do you move those around according to what the needs are for the day?
The batting cages are on cables. They
Mhm.
can slide them open so they go inside. All the walls are covered with, not covered with, have a tarp in front of it. So when the ball goes flying into it, it just hits it and dies.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So the space is flexible. If we need long, ground out play.
But there's no competition.
No
So,
competition. No.
You're not having events there
No.
that one person. So,
No.
okay.
No. It's not big enough space for that.
I had another question, but I forgot what it was. All right, maybe I'll think about it when we get through.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Jordan?
I'm just talking about the parking. I mean, you're saying that the parents are going to bring the kids, and it's kind of going back to what he said. You sure they aren't going to?
The majority of our parents usually just drop their kids off. I would say maybe 10% stick around for whatever reason, but the kids are there for 2 hours. Gives them an opportunity to run their errands, do what they need to do. We're right next to the King of Prussia Mall, so here they'll be next to the Plymouth Meeting Mall. So if they need to go out and run some errands, whatever they need to do, so it's a good time for them. And yes, some parents do stay. I've seen parents sit there with their laptops and do their work because we provide Wi-Fi for them and so on. But I would say maybe 10% of the parents will stay in the facility itself.
And what would be Plan B if the parents seem to show up in greater numbers
Yeah.
than you anticipated?
I think we have enough parking for the parents, and I guess.
What's your parking utilization now?
Now we have I think 50 spaces right now, and it's more than enough for the parents when they're.
You have 15 parking spaces at your facility in King of Prussia?
Yes,
And what's the square footage of that?
30,000 square feet.
And what's this one?
70.
And you have 100 and some spaces here?
116.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Anything else, Vernon?
That's it.
Sorry to jump into space.
All right.
My memory is not really good these days. So
I know.
you know, so.
No, that's it.
All right, sir, thank you. Tony?
Yeah, just gathering information, really. Is your facility now part of that workhorse brewery?
Yes. So we're leasing out part of that big building.
Mhm.
So it's 120,000 square feet. We have 30,000 square feet of 120,000 square feet. Workhorse Brewery's in there, the elevator company's in there, and I think a coffee shop moved in there. So it works out really well for the brewery, because sometimes the parents, that's where they wind up going also. They go out, get some dinner. Like I said, it's good free time for them.
Well, that's sort of an industrialized area also. Though.
Yes, yes.
I guess the concern, comes down to parking and impervious
Mhm.
surfaces, which you address. So,
Yes.
But that's where I am.
Thank you, sir. Events. What type of events will be held at the facility?
Mostly just sporting events.
But I mean, will it be you're inviting several other teams over?
For competition, yes,
Yes.
there will be competition involved. Those will be only on the weekends, not during the weekdays.
And what's parking like when there's an event?
Well, you can only have 2 teams on a court at a time. So people are kind of going in and out during those time periods because there's set times when they'll be playing. Again, with the 50 spaces that we have is good there. One plan that we do have, since we are have opposite parking time, is that there's an office building next to them that we could possibly work out an agreement where we can use their parking facility. It's not on here, but it's huge if we needed to do any sort of overflow on the weekends. And plus, people from coming out of town will be staying at the hotel, and they can be parking at the hotel.
Because you've got the, however you want to look at it, 4 basketball courts or 4 volleyball courts.
Yes.
So you could have all those teams
Mhm.
going at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on how people show up, and depending on whether parents are together, parents are divorced, grandparents are
Yes.
coming, aunts and uncles are coming.
Yes.
I've been to these events
Yes.
where sometimes there's an entire extended family on the other side.
What we calculate is we usually calculate on average 1 spectator per player. That's what kind of average. And
I can tell you that would never be true in my family.
but some parents.
I'm sure some do.
So some parents know they just drop off their kids, and they know they have the whole day. Other parents, yes, they bring their grandparents and so on. That's where I think the variance falls into it a little bit.
But
if
that's
we're-
also where the concern over parking
Yes.
comes from.
So if that were the case, I think then, yes, we would work out a situation where we would go to the office space next door and work out some sort of agreement with them.
And in general, we like to see that worked out in advance
So, fair enough.
because that creates problems.
Mhm.
If we were to say, this is great, now we're an advisory board,
Mhm.
so, what we say has reference for the other groups, but obviously is not binding. They can make whatever decision they like. And, once it gets to zoning and council, however, those decisions would be binding. And,
Also-
we like to see that worked out.
Also,
because we're
another
not
thing, I
doing
don't know
our
if
due
you
diligence.
know, is street parking allowed?
No,
Street parking is not allowed? Okay.
No.
no.
Okay.
Seating.
Yeah, we did
That's a good
also retain Horner and Tanner, the traffic engineers, and they're doing a parking study for us as well.
And are there any stands, or is there any places for spectators to stay, to watch?
Yes, they can position themselves around the courts.
So it's just around the courts?
Yes.
There's not
No.
stands, there's not bleachers,
No.
anything of that nature? Okay. And then there's also, as you stated, pickleball is popular. You've got 5 pickleball courts
Yes.
here. If things are going on simultaneously,
Mhm.
that could be significant parking.
Mm. Right now, the way the badminton is they're mostly operating in the evenings, and their tournament schedule is not the same as our volleyball schedule. And their tournaments is maximum of 4 people on a court.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with how long those matches are or how many groups could be cycled through.
They cycle through pretty fast.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. It's pretty much bracket play.
So you could have multiple teams on the 5 courts going through.
Yeah.
What's an average match? Half an hour?
Half an hour.
Okay. So each court would be used twice in an hour, just based on that, depending on who's going.
And I think once we, get to, we'll see situations like maybe it's not a good idea to have all the events going on at the same time.
Dave, do you have anything?
Just a couple little things. In regards to the parking, I know there is a saldo requirement, like every 15 spots there has to be a landscape island. So the parking that you're asking for might even be a couple spots lower for that, unless you're asking for a waiver for those. That would come later. The other thing, I have a question for Lonnie regarding stormwater management. Do all these lots pretty much drain to that one giant basin across the street from this property?
Well, this one certainly does, because it's.
I'm just
on the
thinking like
property.
the other hotels and the self-storage facility, do they have individual basins on their property?
They do.
They do, okay. That was my question. All right, I was just curious, that's all.
I remembered my question, my other question. Is this a 24-hour facility?
No.
What are your hours of operation?
So we operate, because it's mostly kids, it's after school.
Uh-huh.
So from, whenever they get done school, 4:30 or so, until about 10 o'clock at night. Obviously, they're kids, so we don't want to keep them too late. And then, weekend competitions, that's it. So it wouldn't be 24 hours.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't want to stay there 24 hours.
Well, you hire somebody.
Yeah.
So you're not open in the mornings, probably except on the weekends, right?
Yes.
Monday through Friday, you're not open until 4 o'clock?
Right now, we're not in our current facility, and like I said, we cater to kids, so they're in school.
Anything else on? Anybody in the audience in favor of the application? Anybody in the audience opposed to the application? Hearing none.
What's the position then?
As of right now, I received word the other night that council will oppose the application. They will officially oppose it on Monday night at the council meeting as of right now.
Is there a specific reason?
Yes, they didn't have an engineered drawing, they didn't know how any of the bulk requirements would work with regard to setbacks and pervious coverage and all that. They didn't have this plan that was submitted tonight. They had the other drawing showing,
Didn't show the calculation.
didn't show the calculations, didn't show the setbacks, so
Right.
based on that information, they were going to oppose it. So well, I guess once they get to the, zoning hearing board, they may have they could have a different opinion now that there is a drawing.
But there's also a traffic plan that hasn't been submitted yet.
Parking. yeah.
Parking.
Yeah.
Parking.
So that was the reason why council Monday night thought they were
It
going to.
wasn't use specific.
Wasn't use specific, no, it was the bulk area requirements.
I'll make a motion based on what's presented, being mindful that we are a 3-member board at the moment. The fact that council has not been provided the appropriate documents, the fact that the parking report is not finished yet, and that a parking easement with a neighbor has not been worked out, I would say we're not in favor of this application at this time. I do believe it could be a benefit to the community if done in compliance. This is an area that's growing rapidly, as we can see throughout the community and other sites in the community that are expanding for children's sports as well. But with the information we have at present, personally, I'm uncomfortable proceeding at this time. Do we have a second?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor of opposing the application at this time signify by saying aye. Aye. Vern, are you in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
You want to approve the minutes?
Yes. The minutes from last week's meeting, do we have a motion? Or last month's meeting? Seems like a week.
It does. Make a motion, we approve.
All right.
Second?
Second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you so much. We are adjourned.